Hey Senpai, it's your Kohai. Sorry if my voice sounds a little bit weird today since I'm still getting over the corona, but I still want to make a video for you guys. So today we're going to take a look at eStream Albedo's 1/7 scale with an MSRP of 46,750 yen. Now this figure was on a bit of a figure recall, so to speak. Some of the customers had already gotten this figure, but the wings came misshapen, and so they complained about it. And eStream's response was to take a blow dryer to it. And well, the customers didn't appreciate that very much. So eStream then instead decided to make new wings for the figures coming out. So that's what we have here in this box and why we haven't received our Albedo until now. So without further ado, let's take a look at the box. Now, from doing the rim video, we know that eStream isn't exactly known for their intricate box making, at least not yet. But this box is at least a step up from nothing. So there are a few different colors, there are feathers and some water droplets, which at least relate to the figure a little bit. There's a Japanese side and an English side so that I can read it. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Alrighty, here is our first layer of inner packaging. As you can see, it's very large. At least they added some styrofoam at the bottom to kind of give it some more structure. Here's Albedo out of the box. Now, I didn't want to put her wings on yet since I want to compare the original wings with replacement wings. But the two things that stand out to me right now are her base and the see-through clothes that are kind of draping down off of her. I think those two pieces are really cool. What I don't like is that you have to put her into the base, which is fine, but it doesn't really seem to fit well, and so it ends up making this squeaky noise that I don't really like, but at least they took more care into packaging her. They really didn't want her to come damaged. They literally bubble wrapped her entire body and taped a bunch of stuff in the box. It was kind of annoying, but at least she didn't come damaged like Rim and Amelia, so kudos to that. So now let's take a second and compare the two different wings. Here's the inner layer of packaging for the replacement wing. So it looks like it's actually only one wing, and it's this one. So if you're looking at her back, it's the left one. Here on the right, you'll see that we have the replacement wing, and on the left, we have the original wing. So you can definitely see that there is a difference between these two wings. Here on the right, you have more spread in the feathers here, especially in this portion here, whereas this is a lot more flat. Up on the top, there is more shading up here in the top feathers on the replacement wing versus the original wing. You can really see that when we flip them over to the other side. So here we can see the spread a lot more. These come up a lot more, whereas this is just kind of flat, laying on the ground. And then the shading up here on the replacement wing is more of like a black, dark blue, black, dark blue, black, whereas this is all just kind of a dark blue color. And then you go into the shading of the wings. And then here the insertion points seem to be different. So it looks like they actually did do a little bit of something different, hopefully something better than what this original wing looks like. But to kind of further drive home this point, I'll go ahead and put the original wing on there to show you guys, and then the replacement wing. Oh no, I was wrong. All right, well, I just gotta look dumb. It's okay. It's cute and endearing, right? Apparently I'm directionally challenged since it's her right wing instead of left wing, but you know, it's fine. But we can see that in this original wing, it's very squished. None of the feathers are really coming out like the promotional photos, and the right wing's kind of coming up on her a lot. So let's take a look at what they did with the replacement wing to try to kind of fix that problem. As you can see, the replacement wing looks a lot better. It's almost a shame though, because you have this really nice shading on this new right wing, whereas on this left wing, it almost doesn't match because you don't have that nice shading here. It's all just kind of that dark blue color. So that's kind of a shame, but other than that, the feathers are more splayed open. It's not coming in to crush on her, so it looks a lot better. Now, since they did take the time to fix this issue and send us the replacement wing, we're going to do the review based off of this. So without further ado, let's take our closer look. Taking a look at the paint for this figure, there's not a large color palette. However, they did a lot of nice shading with these colors to give this figure a lot of depth. So for example, this hairpiece. I really don't think that there's a lot of figures, maybe a few that we have that can rival this hairpiece. So they have this darker color here, lighter color here, darker color here, lighter color here. They did this, there's like a gradient that gives it a nice shading. Normally I don't like matte colors on hair because they look really flat, but since they add a lot of this shading, it actually has a lot of depth and it looks really nice. On the wings over here, it's frustrating, it's a shame really, because if they would have given me this replacement wing over here, I don't know if I would have seen that there's not that much shading on this left wing. I don't know, maybe I would have, but like over here on this replacement wing, you have this nice banding of shading. Like you have this navy color, black color, navy color, you know, this banding that gives it a lot of depth. Whereas on this left wing over here, it's all just like really this navy color and there's not a lot of shading. It's very disappointing because this could drive a lot of people crazy. If you have OCD, you're over here looking at this close up and then it's like, oh, these two wings are very different. It would be very frustrating. But at least if you're looking at it from farther away in this pose, you don't really see that. And so it's okay until you kind of give it that closer look and then you know, it's different and then it's kind of annoying. But other than that, the base, they at least took some notes from the rim base. So the rim base is also this kind of blue color, but they at least made this bottom part darker, which hides the seams, but they made it lighter towards the top. So they did an improvement on the rim base, which is nice. On her clothes and this clear piece, I really like the clear piece that they use for her clothes. It kind of distorts here. You can see her skin through the clothing, but it's almost like it is covered in water because this clear piece distorts the skin through it. Her skin is a really nice color and it's got a lot of nice shading when it comes to her muscles here on her forearm, down into her armpit, on her breast line, here on her stomach, on her leg over here where her knee is. So that goes into a little bit of modeling, which we'll talk about later, but they did do a lot of nice shading on her body sculpt. They painted her fingernails and her toenails, which is a nice detail, and that paint actually looks clean. Where the paint is not so great is gonna be on these gold accessories here and on her swimsuit. There's just not a lot of detail to them, and they're kind of bleeding over into her bottom part of her bathing suit. So that's kind of a shame, but they also have this ring here. There's not a lot of detail to it, but it is kind of just like an accessory piece. And then of course her kind of leg bracelets, rope thing. I don't know what they are, but they are very flat. They just really don't have any detail at all. But other than that, in general, I would say that the paint is really nice because they gave it a lot of shading. When it comes to the modeling of this figure, there's just a lot of movement in general. So from her hair to where it's flowing down her arm and then curling back around, and then the rest of her hair has a lot of movement to it. They did add some hair pieces back in here, but they at least chose to add them back into a hair part. So it seems more natural, you don't really notice it as much. All these feathers are kind of splayed out. You can see each individual feather. You have this water base that's kind of flowing around her. I mean, she seems like she's floating up out of a vortex of water. You have all these clear cloth pieces that have a lot of movement to them, a lot of wrinkles in them. And then you have her body sculpt, which I talked about in the paint a little bit. I mean, it looks like they based it off of an actual model. It's just that impressive looking with all the muscles sculpted in. Now, where the sculpting is not as detailed as the rest of the figure. It's going to be in like all these little accent pieces. So, and her ring here, and then the gold pieces here, and then her anklets. And the anklets look very clunky. I think they're supposed to be rope, but the rope just looks like it's all one piece. You don't have kind of these individual pieces of rope here. And then where the wings are, so on the original wing, this top part kind of looks like all the feathers are glued together, whereas on the replacement wing, it kind of looks like they're more separated. I don't know if that's a shading thing or a sculpting thing, but the replacement wing does look better in that these top feathers look like they're more separated. But other than that, the modeling in general is very detailed, and they did a really good job. I would definitely say this is an artistic interpretation of Albedo rather than anime Albedo. So this figure is not based off of an artwork, but in the anime, Albedo is very derpy. She makes lots of crazy faces. Honestly, she has a fatter face in the anime, and her eyes are a lot larger. So I know this face is supposed to be like a sexy model face, but it kind of just looks like a bird mouth to me. I don't know what it is. Either it's the sculpting or maybe it's a little bit offset. I don't know. It kind of gives off more of a deer in headlights look rather than a sexy look. But overall, the figure is still decently sexy. It's very cute. It shows a lot of skin without being exceptionally vulgar. It's definitely kind of like a high fashion Albedo. So with that, let's give it a score. Starting with the box, it's at least better than Rim's box. It's more than nothing, but in general, it's very plain, so it gets a 2 out of 5. Overall, the paint is very impressive when it comes to shading, but where the real deduction and points comes from is the original wing not having that shading like the replacement wing, so it gets a 12 out of 15. The modeling quality is extremely impressive, from the body sculpt to the movement of the hair, from the water on the base flowing around her to her clothes kind of cascading down her body. However, my nitpicks are going to be the anklets as well as the feathers on the original wing look more clumped together than on the replacement wing, so it gets a 14 out of 15. The base is basically an improved version of the Rim base. They took all the aspects I didn't like about that base, such as the seams showing, and they added more shading into this base, and it's very impressive, so it gets a 10 out of 10. Under artistry for 2D versus 3D, it's definitely an artistic interpretation of Albedo. It's more of like a high fashion Albedo versus a derpy anime Albedo. This figure doesn't quite capture her quirkiness, so it gets a 6 out of 10. The pose is extremely dynamic. She looks like she's floating out of a vortex of water. There's a lot of movement, so it gets a 10 out of 10. Regarding the face, her face is supposed to be kind of a gorgeous model look, but to me it kind of looks more of like a deer in headlights bird face, so it gets a 7 out of 10. For Luna / Moe, she's got a bangin' body, but she's got a butter face. Everything's hot butter face, so she gets a 9 out of 10. Moving on to value, objectively this figure weighs in at 1,535 grams, with an MSRP of 46,750 yen, giving her a yen per gram of 30.46, which gives her a 4 out of 5. Subjectively, I think that 46,000 yen for Albedo is too high. Rim released 2 years ago at 33,000 yen, and although I do think Albedo is better, I would have liked to see her price at 40,000 yen, giving her a 3 out of 5. For playability, displayability, she doesn't have any other accessories, but she is slimmer than the Rim crystal dress, so you should be able to display her with a couple other figures in a display case, so she gets a 3 out of 5. This brings the total for eStream's Albedo to an 80 out of 100. With Albedo here, we essentially have 2 years of eStream's progress. They have improved upon the original base by making it this beautiful dark gradient color that hides all the seams and makes it this one solid piece. The modeling and paint quality are also exceptional. However, what's going to put it below the rim crystal dress are these 2 different wings. So I appreciate that they took the time to replace the right wing. However, the left wing is so different it could keep someone from buying it or owning it in the first place. I wish they would have just taken the time to go ahead and replace both wings so that they would be the same. I also think that the rim crystal dress does a great job of completely capturing Rim's personality, as well as her face is perfect in this figure. If eStream continues to work on their quality assurance, they can continue to be one of the best manufacturers in the market today. Well, that's it for today's video. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. You can find a way of supporting our channel in the description below. Well, until next time, Senpai, bye!